What's good? What's good? Welcome here to Area 51 here with Jimmy James telling you the truth about boxing. For all the people who are not part of this channel, subscribe. We have lives in Spanish, we have lives in English. We got it all here just for fans that like boxing. Golden Era is your new venture, is your new way to show what boxing is about. And today I want to talk about this leak that was just recently exposed, which came just a few hours ago. And I mean, it's a nuclear bomb to Spence fans. And I actually want to give some credit to Spence on this one because it shows how Spence's side was responsible for not trying to make the fights. And you can't really hear the audio too well, but I, wrote down a little bit of what it says, and I'm gonna, you know, speak it. I'm gonna tell you what it said here, and you can find it online. It's hard to make the audio up, but I mean, it just says what I've been saying the whole time. I've told you long time ago that you know this is not Crawford's fault. Crawford always wanted the fight. When I brought here Steven Nelson, he had mentioned that it was Errol Spence and Al Heyman, and that Errol Spence didn't push Al Heyman to make the fight happen. And it is what it is. So in this recording, I think it's time to expose a little bit more of what's going on. We know that everything that's in the recording is actually true, and I will pause it in a second just to go on with it. So without further ado, man, let's go to the video. Let's dig in, and let's get here some of the script. All right, let's see. It says, he just said Crawford don't really understand what's going on. He's asking questions. I guess he doesn't really trust his attorney. So he want to talk to Al Heyman personally and ask questions about what's going on and this and that. So I don't know. Let me see here. It says, I don't know. But this should be wrap it up shortly. So yeah, I know. Now I'm getting killed in social media. You're laughing. And he says everybody's saying that I went ghost. Like I know what's going on, okay? I'm thinking hopefully we can do it in, okay? He wants it in January. So he just said that because Al Heyman, Crawford was trying to talk to Al Heyman directly because apparently he didn't trust one of his lawyers, that he wanted to fight. Crawford wanted to fight in November, and that's what Mike Coppinger had said in the time. But now Spence is saying, hopefully we can get this by January. That's the only fight out there for me. Okay, so that's good. He wanted to fight. It looks like it. I don't know. He says, I'm not fighting Thurman. That's out the window. So he told that to Al Heyman. So that means that Al Heyman was trying to push him to fight Keith Thurman. Said no. So that's past me. I'm not fighting him. Durance is the fight that I want. I mean, that's the most money. That's the legacy fight. That's it right there. That's who will decide who's the best in boxing, me or him. She says, I don't know. Al just said he got a lot more questions. So Crawford had a lot of questions because of the contract. We know that. So he got a lot of questions with Al Heyman than he did with Bob Arum. Okay. This is, are you asking Bob all these? Okay. Everybody's an expert on social media. Okay. I just want to get it done. So everybody get off my back. Says he but don't got nowhere to go either. It's either me. He's gonna go past me and fight Jermel Charlo. So he's confirming that Bud Crawford was actually trying to actually fight Jermel Charlo if he couldn't get a fight with Spence or fight somebody else or else. So okay. So I'm not even worried about it. All right. So very interesting clip here that Errol Spence. Um, I mean, everything that I've seen here with Errol Spence has said. Now, once again, we're supposing that this is actually not a trick of Errol Spence to just lick that audio so he looks good in front of everybody. I'm assuming this was due when they were trying to make the fight. So it kind of confirms everything. He was basically saying that Crawford had issues with the contract and that he was trying to speak to Al Heyman to make the fight. Okay. He couldn't make the fight with Al Heyman because there was no 35% guaranteed. And Mike Coppinger had already assured in his part of the investigation about this fight that Al Heyman didn't want the fight. It seems like Al Heyman didn't want to guarantee Crawford the money. Now, in the audio, it actually seems to suggest that Errol Spence did want the fight, so that is a good sign. However, it seems to me like he was not pushing for the fight well enough. And it's funny because Al Heyman tried to push to fight against Keith Thurman, but Errol Spence has the final decision. And he said, nah, I don't want to fight Keith Thurman. So Al Heyman cannot make him fight Keith Thurman. So this comes at a very crucial point in this situation with Terence Crawford because it's obvious you cannot blame Terence Crawford. Everybody who's been blaming Terence Crawford has just been caught in bullshit. And Terence Crawford was trying to get the fight. He was just trying to get over the negotiation to see what's going on. So, and he's actually, what shocked me is that Errol Spence said that he's trying to go and fight Jermel Charlo. So apparently, because Jermel Charlo is also in PBC, he was trying to make that fight happen as well, Terence Crawford. So, I mean, it's clear. It's clear as day. PBC was trying to push that fight for January. So there was no negotiation for November. It was all full of shit. They were trying to get somebody else. They weren't trying to fight Crawford. And that's it. That's the end of that story. So, you picking on channels like mine that are trying to show you evidence that Terence Crawford wasn't ducking Errol Spence. He did everything he could to get the fight. Yeah, he didn't have a promoter, but when he was with Bob Arum, Bob Arum couldn't get the fight either. So it seems that Al Heyman just was looking for a different way to fight somebody else. And I think that other person is Canelo Alvarez. Like I said in my other clip, which I recommend that you check. So this is bad news for Spence fans because Spence fans have been very emotional. They've been very emotional. Have you ever seen a chick when she has her period? She kind of changes moods and she starts like, acting weird. That's what it sounded to me. That's what it sounds to me when I hear a lot of the Errol Spence fans trying to protect themselves. It just sounds like they have their period. And at the end of the day, the truth has to be told. And the truth is that Errol Spence apparently did want the fight, but he didn't push Al Heyman to make it by November. And there's nothing else to say. So this leakage puts Errol Spence and Al Heyman in a different manner. You see, before, people were blaming Crawford, saying that Crawford didn't do this, Crawford didn't do that. Crawford, which I try to contact both teams, and we are registered as a media outlet. We have goldeneraboxing.com, but unfortunately, I got no response by anybody in the PR department of PBC, and they can just respond yes or no. It's not a hard thing, but they're not really willing to tell you what's going on. So that's a closed door for me. So I got to go to Terence Crawford, and they were, I got Steven Nelson here, and he was open to speak to me about this situation. I'll see if I can get somebody else. But it all makes sense. It all makes sense. It all makes sense in the end. It was a bad contract. Both fighters had agreed to all the terms. And when the lawyers looked it up, they found there were flaws. Crawford didn't trust the lawyers. So what he did is that he wanted to contact Al Heyman directly to see what was going on. And Al Heyman said that Crawford has a lot of questions, which apparently were not resolved. And it came out, the leak before this, that there was actually no guarantee that he's going to get the 35%, which is very interesting. So Al Heyman was trying to stall this fight and make it for 2023 and not make it for 2022. And now the question is, why would Al Heyman try to push Keith Thurman with Errol Spence? See, do you want to fight Keith Thurman? And Errol Spence says no, which I actually commend Errol Spence for saying no to Keith Thurman, because Keith Thurman shouldn't even be in the fucking equation. But Al Heyman pushes Keith Thurman there. So now it raises more questions. I mean, you're going to make more money. And even Errol Spence recognizes what I've told you guys. It's a money fight. He knows that that's a money fight. So what needs to happen now that this footage is leaked, this audio recording is leaked, is that Errol Spence needs to come forward and clarify his position. He needs to come forward and say the 35% split that we were going to give Terence Crawford was not guaranteed. And in fact, we're going to make this fight happen in 2023, but it's been super quiet in Spence's team. And I think that's a huge mistake from his camp, because at this point in time, a lot of Spence fans are leaving him in droves, and they're realizing that this situation with Terence Crawford is not what they thought it was going to be. In fact, a lot of people are having more respect for Terence Crawford now than they did before, thanks to this. And that puts a strain on Errol Spence fans. Sad to say. Because now the truth has been revealed and you can't blame Crawford. Now you are forced to blame PBC. And frankly, like Steven Nelson said, Errol Spence needs to push all Heyman, apparently, to make the fight happen. And this is exactly what we heard in the audio. So very, very bad news for Errol Spence fans, and kind of makes sense. I mean, it does make sense. Everything that we kind of exposed here is nothing but the truth. Now, it's sad. It's really sad right now that this is happening, because me personally, um, I feel relieved right now. I feel very relieved. I feel actually very happy, because now that shows that I was right. So very, very bad news with that. So now that we got here and exposed this, what are your thoughts? You still are Errol Spence fan? Are you going to still defend this dude? And even actually, you can defend Errol Spence, but here's the deal: why is he not pushing Al Heyman? I mean, he can tell no. He can tell Al Heyman no. Like I said, the fighter always has the last pin of the stroke to say no. I don't want the fight. But why is he not pushing Al Heyman to make the fight happen? So even if even if you blame Al Heyman, which it seems like that's what Errol Spence was suggesting, why is Errol Spence not pushing Al Heyman to make the fight happen? And this fight was not going to be for November. This was going to be for 2023. So it is what it is, man. What can I say? The truth always comes out, and the truth came out. So I hope you enjoyed the show. You guys have a good rest of the evening or night or whatever you're at, and we'll talk later. Peace out, and talk to you tomorrow.